Good evening, folks. Thank you so much for joining me today on racism and PR and media. So, before we get started, I want to take a moment for us to share this broadcast. So, panelists, I am going to share this on my page, and then you all will be able to share as well. Let me know if you can see it. If not, we will take a moment. So, are y'all able to see it?
Yes.
Okay. And audience, you want y'all to share too. Please share. Start a watch party. Like, help us get our show out there.
Why?
Okay. So if everyone shares, started.
Is this the? I'm sorry. Is this the personal page or your other page?
Yeah.
I'm not seeing anything still.
Okay. Check now.
Okay.
It's
Because I just
personal or business page?
it's both pages actually. But my
Okay.
personal page, you should be able to see it on now. Because I just shared it.
Yeah. Got it.
Okay.
Good to go. Good to go. Love it. Love it. Love it. So, family, I just first want to give a shout out to my friend Kevin and his entire crew over at Yak.live. Yak.live is a platform that puts all live streams in one place. And not only does it make it easy to find my live streams, but it gives you the ability to share to your calendar. So now you won't miss any of my panels. You can't say you didn't know because Yak.live has a place for you to be able to do that. So go over to their site and check them out, and you'll be able to even sign up for a creator account where if you have live streaming, as I do, you can start an account with them as well. So on to my esteemed y'all, I'm so excited about these ladies. I just don't know what to say. So I will start with Miss Fancy Felder, who is a media. In 2010, she launched Swagger Magazine, which is an empowerment and lifestyle publication for the progressive Black community. I am a huge fan as well as a member of her community. Y'all see Jamel and her sharing all my stuff. So it is an amazing magazine. She has a passion for all things creative, combined with a love for writing, Black culture, and business guidance. She is also she also offers public relations, creative, and branding services that makes her magazine a media boutique, and she has some cooking clients as well. And I'm one of those, and I'm very happy with my services. So thank you, Fancy, for your service.
Thank
Next,
you.
I got up my girl, Caitlin Darby. Caitlin and I are students, classmates in Work University. Kayla's a graduate of the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. She's currently a freelance publicist, lifestyle blogger, actress, and podcaster. She's been practicing public relations on her own for 2 years since graduating in 2018 and focuses on pitching and getting media placement. Her preferred segment of PR is in entertainment. Miss Tiffany Joy, my girl. She is a very influential entrepreneur leading a Brooklyn, New York based boutique public relations firm. She's the founder and the principal public relations strategist for TJM and Co. Media Boutique. She leads a team that empowers and humanitarian brands to flourish by exposing them to ideal audiences through fully integrated purpose-focused public relations and digital marketing strategies. She's also written her first two books, PRY until PRY Until the Small Business Owner's Guide to DIY Public Relations Until You're Ready to Hire a Pro. So congratulations on that, sis. That's really good. Miss Makiko Land, founder and CEO of Alchemy Consulting and PR. She's awesome, y'all. She's an award-winning, world-traveling marketing communications expert who has successfully pivoted and rebranded government agencies, corporate clients, and celebrity brands with her strategic transforming out of the box creative solutions that position her clients for marketplace prominence and profitability. Miss Shakima. Shakima is affectionately known as Kima to her family and friends, and she is the founder of Maddie Clay Branding and Public Relations. She launched the Queen's English PR in September of 2012, but she rebranded in April of 2017 to Maddie Clay Branding and Public Relations to honor her grandparents, Eddie Clay and Maddie Guest. The agency works with beauty, health, and wellness and lifestyle brands to create a consistent brand message. That's so sweet, Kima. That's awesome. Your parents are like the best. Last but certainly not least is my girl, my homegirl, Miss Latoya Lemon, right here in H-Town. She is the CEO, owner, and senior publicist of Lemon Lime Light Media, as well as the founder of Let's Talk Team. Through Lemon Lime Light Media, she serves as the lead publicist for entertainers, nonprofits, faith-based leaders, and corporations. She also does brand management. And ain't together something. Is that your company's birthday today?
Huh?
Is your company's anniversary or birthday?
Yes, today we turned 9. I have on my shirt. Honey, watermelon juice.
That's awesome. So all of y'all know me already. Y'all know I am your racial disruptor. I am your chaos coordinator of the LM Experience, chief blogger over at LakeishaMobile.com, and podcaster at The Combo with Keisha. So, ladies, welcome. I'm excited to have y'all. And as we get
Excited to be here.
like on fire, okay? They is ready for us. So we gonna start this off. And I'm gonna ask that question that I always ask. I'm gonna start with you, Tiffany, because you feel like you ready to go. You feel like you ready to bring it. Does racism exist?
You said, does it exist?
Yes, ma'am.
No, absolutely, hands down, beyond a shadow of a doubt, unequivocally, yes, absolutely, racism exists. But I think we need to understand that there is a little bit of racism in all of us. It's not just, this ugly word that we only see white men doing. We each have our own biases and our own little slivers of racism that come from generations and generations of being taught different things. And so I think we need to recognize that it is very broad and multifaceted as far as, that word racism. And in order for us to really address it, we need to admit that it exists and that we all have a little bit of it in some way.
Right. I so agree. Miss Caitlin, what's your take?
Well, I completely agree with Tiffany. It's just things that are ingrained in us, brought down from generation to generation, and it's a process to have to unlearn things like that, because sometimes you might not even realize that you're doing something like that, like saying, I don't know, for instance, like saying something is ghetto or whatever. I feel like that's a little bit of racism ingrained in us, just something we don't think about, just something that's brought down, from our grandparents and things like that. And it is something that you have to unlearn. You have to acknowledge in yourself and unlearn.
Right. Miss Fancy, what's your take on it?
Well, my take on it was kind of from the aspect of how does it affect the messaging and branding. And so what I look at is like right now, especially as we're in a time where it's becoming more common to build customer profiles and customer avatars, right? But when we're building those things, or when others are building those things, that we already have like a clear picture of our ideal customer in mind, or our readers, or whomever the case may be. So even just like with what Tiffany said, then the racism is already there. As Caitlin pointed out, we may not even be aware of it. Oftentimes it's placed there like with encoded language, but that is oftentimes like how it's portrayed. So even though it seems like it's just, a gentle message, when you really look at it and you look at yourself like as an individual, and you realize that there's all these restraints that, immediately disqualify you because they were placed there. How do you say it? It's seismic. I always struggle with this word, y'all. But is the word seismic or systematic? I always been thinking
systematic.
Yes.
Yeah, systematic. Yeah.
how, you know, it is very much so present, but oftentimes it's overlooked. So yes,
Right.
I do agree. Racism is very much present in media.
Right. So let's pivot there, Latoya. So let's put the racism into PR and media because all you ladies are in that. So Fancy talked about the messaging. You know, that's a good point. So expound on that for me.
Well, you know what? I think when it comes to PR, we're already strategists in a lot of ways. And unfortunately, because of racism, we have to be very strategic with how we pitch our clients, the type of outlets we pitch our clients to. I have
Mm,
went above and beyond to pitch my clients to diverse media and then media that don't look like me. And oftentimes I don't hear from them. And you find yourself trying to establish relationships with entities that are like a CNN or even a, even Rolling Stone. Like I
right.
literally went after Rolling Stone for like 6 years before I got even a hit. 6 years. And so again, it's a little troubling, and sometimes in PR and just in media in general, people will cage you or put you in a bubble and say things like, "Oh yeah, she just handles black clients," or "She's a black publicist." Which ultimately means that's all the type of contact she have, just garbagecan.com as the
Right.
media outlets, and that's not always the case.
Right. Right. That's so true. Miss Makiko.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
not see you not first. See you
yeah,
wasn't
I
first.
know it. Like all the ladies said, especially Caitlin, I think we all bring our own biases to the messaging, whether it's unbiased or a biased racism. We all have our own experiences, and we come from a cultural perspective. Where others will come from their cultural perspective. So you have to take that into consideration. And like Victoria is saying, the way you pitch and who you pitch to. I'm a black woman, but that doesn't mean I only represent black clients.
Right.
I can speak
Right.
to all clients. I can develop messaging and key messages for anyone. I
Right.
transcend my race. And that's the message I'm trying to get out. My messages have to transcend what they think of us, right? Or
Right.
they think of others. And that's the strategy that we talk about as PR specialists. We have to think about how can my message transcend what they're thinking. There was a campaign about black men, and it showed black men in all different beautiful facets, right? I'm a black
Mm-hmm.
man too. But not just uh, the kid with his pants sagging. I'm not the husband on the street. I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer. I'm a black
Right.
father. I'm a single black father. There's a lot that we can bring, and strategically, when we craft our messages, we influence the media. And I'm so proud
Mm-hmm.
of my mentor, Dr. Avis. She has started Black Max. It's another black platform for us to have our own voices on. We have to control the media. We have to control the messaging because they're always going to have another viewpoint, right?
Right.
And only we can control that, really. We have to
Exactly.
who we are and how we're represented. And I think as Black PR professionals, that's a burden that we carry every day.
Right. Right. Miss Kima.
So, definitely, racism exists. And going back to what Latoya said in regards to, reaching out to media and trying to be diverse and not seen as a black publicist who only represents black clients, but also
Mm-hmm.
within our circle, when I find myself trying to reach out to be able to get to someone who's not, black,
Absolutely.
Right.
oftentimes we get overlooked for the person who is the white publicist because they often think that we don't have the resources, or like Makiko said, we can't, express those key messages, in
Right.
different terms. So I experience that, quite often. And that's the one thing that I've come up against a lot in different groups and different circles that we in. We all network within a lot of PR groups. And oftentimes that is what happens. There's a group that I'm in, and I made a post a few months ago, and you can decline a post and say why you declined it or whatever, and it's almost
Mm-hmm.
like the person just clicked every negative thing. Then a week later I saw someone who had a similar
Wow.
post. I'm like, so how did this stay up? And
Right.
mine pretty much got told off behind the scenes. So those are the type of things that we experience a lot of times. They can't look past the color of our skin, our names, our agency, we're located, if we're not big or, you know, Caucasian owned or whatever, we do often hit a lot of obstacles just amongst ourselves a lot of times.
Right. And you ladies brought up a point that I didn't even think about. Latoya, when you said when they see me, I'm thinking along the lines of the message that companies need you all to put out. But if the first barrier is looking at you, how can you even get to the brand to
Right.
help them with their message?
And that's another issue. Sometimes it's not even them seeing you first. My name is Latoria Lemon. And ain't nobody that's not black that with that name. So even starting there, you know, they're like, oh well, I've seen people just automatically get turned off. And let's be very clear, just like everybody on this call, I'm educated, I'm well spoken, I know how to represent brands. I've represented small, I've represented huge brands. You know, but a lot of times we are typecast before we even get the opportunity. And it's so sad because not only are we fighting 10 times harder than everybody else, but a lot of times, if you really want to be honest, we have more talent than the people that are just receiving the opportunity.
That part.
Okay. Say that.
That part. Now, which one of y'all want to talk about that one? Because, yeah, that was my next one.
Listen, that's a conversation that could probably go on all night long, because the fact of the matter is, you know, by nature, we're creators. Not saying that other people aren't, but we're creators.
Right.
And a lot of times, you know, we are, because we have to fight so much, we've come to ways of having to communicate differently. So that expands the way we communicate. So it's a lot of things that we've had to overcome that have helped us to, you know, create these arsenals that we have that they can't see past our name. And like, my name is Shakina. Like, oh my gosh, there's no way to disguise that whatsoever. So, you know, and then my last name is French Creole. So they're already thinking like, who's behind this email? I don't even want to try to figure it out. So, you know, there's just so many things that we have to constantly overcome, not realizing that it's just adding into that skill set, that talent that we're currently building, just because we have to fight so hard to get to where we are.
And I think that's the whole dynamic of our industry, right? Communicating the message. And we are the message, right? When I walk in the door, I am the message, you know, and my name is Japanese.
Absolutely.
So I can say, oh, you're looking for? Oh, we were looking for, yeah, I know what you're looking for. But, you know, I'm here to do the job, and I'm here to do it well. And, you know, I've come from industries of all white males, whether it's military, commercial, residential, real estate, all white males. And I've had to prove myself over and over. And as Latoya said, and others said, we always have to be better. We always have to be better. But I think it makes us better craftsmen and journalists and storytellers, because in my experience, when I get a no and the door is shut on me, I have to figure out a way around that. And I'll come in the back door, I'll come in a window, I'll build an entrance for myself, because you're going to hear me, right? You are going to engage with me, and I'm so confident you're going to like it, you know, and because you're going to need my help, and then that's the whole message, right, of what I can offer. And telling them what they're not saying to a diverse audience, what they should be saying, because all of us collectively have that experience, especially black women, black mothers.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
I think the whole dynamic they will never ever experience, and that value you can't put a price tag on. Think about being a black mother raising a black child or a black son in this environment, and that messaging we have to do at home. Then we go into the workplace and we have to speak code, right? We talked about having a Jamal from the mailroom in corporate industries. It's very important that they have someone that looks like us, either representing them or helping them craft those messages to speak to their diverse audience, because they're going to lose a lot of base.
Exactly.
You know, we are the number one consumers.
Yes.
We're the number one consumers from any product. I don't care what it is, but you know, couple that with the intellectual capital that we bring. It's a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, that's true. Anybody else want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, going to grad school at NYU and the connotation around the word publicist. So I had a couple of professors that said, no, not publicist, you're a public relations professional or you're a public relations strategist. And what came out of that is the connotation to the word publicist. People think of Black, hip hop, urban, I'm just here for the party. I want to walk the red carpet. They don't look at it in the same vein as, the other folks do, and they're doing, public relations and they're strategists and they're professionals. And I had a professor constantly tell me, no, you're not a publicist, you're a public relations professional. And I kept saying, well, what's the difference? And then I came to the realization that is people, when we say, oh, I'm a publicist, people automatically think that means the parties, the entourages, all the stuff that they see on TV.
Right.
So coming, being a Black female, walking somewhere and saying, oh, what do you do? I'm a publicist. You get the side eye. The expectation is that it's a party lifestyle as opposed to that I'm actually here working. Yes, I have on a suit and my pumps and, I got a contract in my bag and we here to do the darn thing. It's not, the party life. And I think that when it comes to us as being communications professionals, immediately people think, so what rappers or what? And I'm like, no, what brands do I represent? So I represent this organization and that organization.
Right.
Not that there's anything wrong with representing an artist, but they assume that if I say I'm a publicist, I must have some hip hop star with an entourage full who's coming to tear the place up. And I think that that's horrible.
Yeah, I agree. I agree on that. I really, really do. Caitlin, Fancy, y'all got some tidbits on that?
Yes, I do. So I'm just thinking about how, so I don't know if it's maybe like a South Louisiana thing where you either go to school to be like a nurse or something, or you just be like a stay-at-home mom and have a bunch of kids and marry someone in the oil field or something like that. So when I wanted to do neither, I guess they were kind of like, oh, well, I feel like you're taking the easy way out by being like a communications professional, because that's what I majored in, and my concentration was in PR. And everybody thinks oh, you took the easy way out, which, first of all, I'd like to say they don't even know what PR is, because every time someone asks what I majored in and I say PR, they say, oh, so you're going to go be on the news? You're going to be like one of the anchors? And I'm like, no, hun. That's not what it is. It's not what we do. So I really don't think it's taking the easy way out, because ever since I graduated from school, it has been a struggle and a fight to even break into the industry. And I don't know necessarily if it's because here you have to know somebody to kind of, get in the door. They'd rather somebody recommend you than actually look at your work. And I do feel like my white counterparts who graduated have had an easier time just because they do know somebody. So it's like being Black and being, majoring what I majored in, I really had to bob and weave my way into experience and take something that isn't necessarily PR related and make it into something PR related. So I do think that is a testament, because I know other Black girls who I've graduated with who are having the same issue. So I think that is a testament to say that this is not an easy way out. I'm sure I could marry some oil field guy, but that's not really what I want to do. So that's that.
That's definitely
your accountability partner gonna get you.
I don't want to hear nothing she got to say right now.
Right. That's true. That's true, Tiff. For real. I mean, we're from the same state. I'm from Louisiana too, but I'm from Central Louisiana. And when I grew up, PR, that's what people thought. It was the news anchors. And I'm like, what? No, that's not PR.
No. My mom's family was straight out of New Orleans, so
yeah,
I get it. My mom's family straight out of New Orleans, so I get it.
Well,
Fancy.
I just kind of wanted to add, because my focus is still more so from the publishing aspect of things, and to be honest, and I'm just being totally honest here, and I hope it doesn't sound like I don't have any goals or ambition, but I don't even care. my whole thing was more so that I created my own lane because I kind of instantly began to see that as badly, because I mean, my major is mass communications and my focus is in PR. So, but when I began like to really pursue my career, nobody was really, you know, especially PR wasn't as popular here. And again, I am in Louisiana too. I'm in Baton Rouge, and so people would just tell me to interview other people. But I say that to say, those interviews is how I started the magazine. But even since then, you know, like, and I've just always been about owning my own and just like, I don't know. I'm a big advocate of for us, by us. So I know while oftentimes people might say I'm putting myself in a box, you know, because I'm not trying to reach out and work with these other brands of other others, but that does not bother me. Like, I love working with people. I love Black people. You know, I'm passionate about that. I love being able to give back. But I will say, however, I do see, like what Caitlin said about not really having the opportunities. Most of my classmates, either they started at the news station or they moved on to somewhere else and they're still at a news station, you know, or they're just totally doing something else. Like, I interviewed a young lady this summer and she was like, you know, she graduated a year ago from a HBCU, mass comm major, and just like, you know, she had, if she was to take a job, it was like in some kind of place that would not have been, I guess you say, the most friendliest to her. Like, she worried about her own safety there. So she stayed here. You know? But I'm just saying, so like, there really aren't as many opportunities. But again, I just kind of believe in just, you know what, like, I mean, I did used to really struggle with it, but then I was just like, you know what, I don't care. Like, we get tons of pitches from people that don't necessarily look like us all the time. Actually, we get more. 75% of our pitches are more so from other ethnic groups than, you know, the Black community. And at the same time, you know, that's who we're really wanting. We're wanting more of the Black influencers, celebs, whoever, you know, to be reaching out to us. But that's all that runs through our inbox all day. You know, stuff that's totally, I don't even think the people are looking. And it just kind of makes me think about you all saying, like, the quality of the work. Like, if you're pitching, are you just blind pitching? Because we don't really talk about half of this stuff. You know what I mean? So, but people are looking at that. And then oftentimes it is people like us, you know, who might be paying them for something else. But even still, if you're going to be pitching, you still need to be, you know what I mean? Like, don't just send out random pitches that, like, you can tell if you had really researched the outlet that this isn't something that they would even begin to consider covering. But instead, you just sent it out to anybody. So that's, again, I think kind of just an example of what Tiffany was saying about the quality of the work. But yeah, that's just my input on things from that area.
Right. I think that's a good input when you think about it. I think you all have been successful at creating your own lanes, creating lanes for people like myself who, you know, I'm an event planner and an influencer. So you know, created opportunities for me to be on platforms to see people like me. I think prior to George Floyd, that wasn't really important to a lot of us, to be honest with you, as well as brands. It really wasn't important. So with knowing that, ladies, how do you think brands should be responding to the message of racism? And I don't mean let's go appoint this one Black, you know, to be on our diversity and inclusion, you know, position that you done created, but everybody else are not, you know, they're white. It's just this one person. What do you think brands' message should be, you know, toward racism? Latoya, I'll start with you on that.
So I think that there needs to be more workshops. There's a lack of understanding, and you can hire one person, but if your company and corporation has 6,000 employees, you ain't helped us really and truly by just hiring that one person. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lack of understanding. Since the passing of George Floyd, I've talked to so many representatives at companies and corporations that don't look like me, and they're clueless. The first question is the first thing they say is, we don't really know what to do. And what's happened is there's been a culture that has been created of a lot of uncomfortableness, for lack of a better word. You know, people go to work, even when I worked in corporate America, it was so uncomfortable having certain conversations with certain people, because you knew they didn't understand you. You knew they didn't understand your culture, your thought process. And so what happens is, as an employee or as a, you know, even around your coworkers, you find yourself really going into a bubble, and you can't fully even be yourself and expand because you're in such a bubble. So when they go to happy hour and they get drunk together and they have a great time, that's just them having a good time. But if we go to happy hour with them and we get drunk, we get up. And there's a difference. You know what I'm saying? And so I'll give you this before, you know, someone else can speak, but we don't get as many off days as they do. And when I say that, I'm not talking about PTO. I'm meaning off as in we can't be on point.
Right.
We have to be on point every time we show up. I can't tell you how many times when I worked in corporate America, it was one young lady. Her routine was she got to work late every day. When she got in, the first 2 hours, her and her girlfriend, they figured out what they were going to have for lunch. Then by that time, it was time to go to lunch. Then after they got back from lunch, they took a cig break. And then they did a little something on the computer. Meanwhile, I'm sitting at my desk from 8:30 to 5:30 with my 1 hour break. And if I deviated from that routine, I got in trouble. So again, we don't get the same type of off day as they do.
Right. I agree with that. I agree. Kimo, what is your take on that?
Well, first of all, you took my statement like right out of my mouth in regards to the one diversity and inclusion person that suddenly got hired now in March of this year. I think first and foremost, brands, they have to be genuine in the decisions that they're making because like Makiko said, I think it was her, we're the number one consumer in pretty much every industry that there is.
Right.
So they have to consider, you know, their audience. And then even if you do hire the one diversity inclusion or the one person on the marketing advertising team that may not be the head, listen to them. Don't just create the position just to create the position. You know, give them their voice and let their voice be heard. Because let's think about it. Some of these statements that have come out, I'm pretty sure that there was somebody who looks like us who said, "Hey, that is not a good idea." And they didn't listen, and then there was, you know, backlash. You know, going back a few years, even before all this, the Dove campaign. Somebody had to look at that and say, okay, this can be received wrong on so many different levels when you went from brown to white, being, you know, clear. Somebody had to look at that and say, that's not going to go well. So I think that, you know, the first thing is, you know, listen to your audience or look and see who your audience is, your target consumer. Be genuine in whatever hiring decisions that you're going to make. And for the people that are going to be there, you know, this is there. You didn't just if you create the position just to create it, it's done. They accepted it. There's no turning back right now. But give them, you know, a voice to some of the decision making, so it doesn't just look like, oh, you hired them to do your part. Doing your part is making the right decisions that are going to impact, you know, everybody across the board.
Right. Anybody else want to chime in on that? Because y'all hit it.
Go ahead, Tiffany.
No, I just want to say I'll jump in there because I have a client that actually happened to. She was the first chief diversity officer at a very large academic institution. And this was before George Floyd. And she came in rearing to go. She had been working in diversity and inclusion for years. She is a champion. And they really just wanted her to sit there. There was even the folks that looked like us who reported to her kind of were like, we come, we get our checks, don't rock the boat. And it ended up being a very rocky situation, and she ended up departing. So I don't even know if they filled the position, but they really just wanted a figurehead. They made all these announcements, you know, all this big hoopla about them hiring the first ever chief diversity officer, you know, at this prestigious Northeastern, you know, institution. And they just wanted a figurehead. They did not like anything she said, any plans or changes she put in, nothing at all. It got so bad to the point where she started getting death threats. Voicemails, being called the N-word at work, all kind of craziness, all kinds of up and down craziness. And the leadership did not have her back at all. That's a prime example of we just want to look good.
Yeah.
But like Latoria said and like Kima said, do not sit somebody there like a doll on a shelf and think they're just supposed to look pretty, because honestly, most of us are not going to do that. Most Black people are coming to do the job. We're coming to rock the boat because it needs to be rocked. And she went and she rocked the boat, and they were very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And like she ended up leaving because it was just the best thing for her and her family to do. And I said, "Oh, it's funny. You left. They didn't make all those announcements about your departure like they did about your arrival."
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. They probably didn't want nobody to know.
No.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And when you bring in
No,
diversity,
they didn't.
it's not just a figurehead. When
Right.
you bring in someone real diverse and shake it up, you're touching the corporate culture. And when you touch
Right.
corporate culture, you start to confront them in their face.
Exactly.
What really are you about? What do you
Right.
believe in? Your values. What is the foundation of this organization? Because you're disrupting everything at that point. You're disrupting their foundation. They don't want
Right.
that. As Tiffany said, they can't handle that. And I
Mhm.
love those organizations, those brands that do. Look at Ben and Jerry. Ben and Jerry's didn't just put a figurehead. They really started to call out the racism, the white privilege.
Indeed.
They questioned themselves, you know, and started an education series about
Right.
white privilege and his systematic racism. And so I think that's what it's really about. It's an education, right? We fear
Exactly.
the unknown. We fear what we don't know. We fear what we don't understand. And if we can educate them, and unfortunately, it's our responsibility and burden to educate them. But once we do, that's where we can bring about cooperation and change
Right.
and understanding.
Right.
But a lot of times
Right.
it's just pejorative, and it's, hey, we did it, we're done, let's move on, business as usual, and
Right.
nothing really changes. Nothing
Right.
changes in mainstream.
It's sad. Yeah, like for me, and I make this joke all the time, like, white folks just discovered us, like, like they discovered America. All of a sudden, it was, oh, well, let's, bring on the Black influences. And for me, it was good. Okay, I was getting more brand deals. I was being in spaces where probably before I wasn't, a part of. But what does that really say? For a brand, like, do you feel like, and I'll start with you, Caitlin, do you feel like our message as Black Americans is really being heard now that they've discovered us?
I still don't think so because, a lot of brands will do a lot of performative things. Like, oh, they'll say, Black Lives Matter and we're against police brutality and things like that. And then they won't put in the work to back it up. So, like Tiffany was saying, they had this one girl to come in to do diversity and they just wanted her to sit there. So you're just doing this to put on a performance to make it look like you care, like you're trying to quell Black people and the anger that they have, the rightful anger that they have about this. But you're really not doing anything productive to help with the issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't feel like we're being heard. I feel like, things like this, like what you're doing, a panel on this, more educational things, the message is going to have to get forced through. Like, they don't want to come to terms with things changing and people wanting things to be different. So it's going to have to be forced through.
Right. Fancy, somebody who's created their own lane. I mean, you have a brand that caters to by a Black woman, to Black other women, but men as well. Do you think our message is being heard?
By the companies and the brands. Look, now I actually came prepared. I had my notes, but then I kind of got off question here. But actually, I feel like we're changing the narrative right now. Like, I'm not gonna say, like, I know we have a lot further to go. However, just having been in publishing for this long now, I'm seeing kind of like a difference from that aspect as far as like even the news stories. And I had some good stuff here I wanted to share. I'm so mad. What did I do? I did with cards. But the thing is, because there was one thing I wanted to mention also, kind of going to what Caitlin was saying about the hiring of the people. But basically what I was looking at is when you're asking, are we being heard? Like, are they really listening? Because it's like they are doing things. I wanted to point out how the NFL partnered with Jay-Z, and then like they formed that initiative, but then we still got to pay for the shirts, like, so you're still trying to get our money from us. I'm just trying to understand, like, how does that work? So when I see things like that, I don't really feel like, I think we're being heard, but we aren't being listened to. But at the same time, I think like as the Black community, I think that we are starting to listen to each other more there. We're starting to be heard amongst each other. But as far as the other brands and so on, I think that we still have a long ways to go. And a lot of it is just kind of for trend, to be honest. Because if it wasn't, then I kind of also think like in order even just to have in order to have racism, you have to have an oppressor, right? So who's the oppressor? Who's the people that's in power? So if they were really listening, then a lot more would have changed by now, I think, especially in the year 2020.
Right. Yeah, we talking 2020 and it's still some of the same things that, are going on that it's almost like a repeat of history.
Right.
If you think about it, it's just a pattern that has just kept going. Latoya, as someone who is, you're all over the place. Do you really feel like we're being heard?
Of course not. I think that there are strategies that's in place from a business perspective to make it resemble that they're listening to us. But when you're actually listening, you begin to do better, right? And unfortunately, I have to make sure that we're listening to each other too as people, because sometimes we neglect that.
Yep.
And that's so important. I know we're so quick to throw each other away. We're so quick to say, this is why I don't support Black businesses and everything. We have to realize that as we're doing and as we're saying, they're watching. And if we're not respecting each other, why should we expect them to treat us better than we're treating each other? And I think that's something that we have to start from within. And, it even goes back as far as, I had a conversation with a friend yesterday about how we were all raised to the magnitude of, whatever happens in this house stays in this house. And so what happens is we didn't become expressive when something bothered us, or we didn't learn how to effectively communicate with each other, And so I think that we kind of have to go back to just the root of some of the issues, and we got to do better with each other as well. I don't know how much of that y'all heard. I feel like I'm frozen, but
no, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I think we really need to dig from within and.
Oh, she went out. I like what she was saying. Who else wants to piggyback on that?
I think that's the value that we bring to the table, and as Black women, I think I see a really supportive system among Black women. It's beautiful, and like Victoria's saying, we really do need to support each other. Not only are they watching each other, right? And make sure we maintain our value of what we offer to the marketplace. And I'm going to support Tiffany. I'm going to support Caitlin. I'm going to support all these ladies because there's a piece for all of us, right? And we can service everyone.
Absolutely.
And we're not going away. We are not going away. And that's the message I want. If I have any message here is we're not going away as a culture.
Right.
And they really do need us. I think about historically the car Chevy had a new car and they called it Nova, and they thought they were doing something so cool. But you know what? They did that in a room of people without diversity and didn't understand the meaning of the word. And literally, the name of the car was No-Go. It was Nova, which means in Spanish, you can't go. And so they had to backtrack that millions of dollars, right? The opportunity cost in that in not hiring a person of color to come in and help you develop this product that you're bringing to market. No. And I don't think, I think they're realizing they cannot afford to do that anymore. So like I said, we're not going to have value they need, and I think if we keep that amongst ourselves in the foremost of our minds, we can conquer and do anything.
That's true.
And we can continue to change the messaging, manage and own the media, and just have these brands be on point with us. It's a cooperative. It really is a cooperative relationship.
Right. I agree with that so much One of the questions, I pose to you ladies is, how do we capitalize on this time right now where brands seem to be interested in what we say? Now, I'm using seem as, I'm using it very loosely. But how do we capitalize on that, at a time like this where they seem to be listening to us? Tiffany, I'll start with you.
So I think that the way we capitalize on that is the messaging has to be twofold. One, the message needs to be internal within the Black community, because we tend to get bamboozled. And when I say that, I mean, we say, oh, look, they're fixing it. They apologize. Look at Starbucks. They fixed it. They took a whole day. They did diversity training, so forth and so on. And then we get to George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, and Starbucks says, wait, you can't wear those shirts here. Yeah. And everybody's like, wait, we thought you did diversity training. What? Right?
We thought you were cool with it.
Right. And keeping it 100, if you wanted to wear something pride related, that was fine. But if you wanted to wear Black Lives Matter related attire, that wasn't an issue. But you had just gone through diversity training, a whole day of we shut down all our stores. We did this, for a whole day. We lost this many thousands of dollars for this 4 hours of diversity training. And then fast forward, not even a year later, and wait, pump the brakes. You can't wear that shirt here. So I think we, as a community, the messaging from folks like us internally needs to be to hold these brands to the task, to call them to the carpet. We have to understand, like Makiko said, our buying power is in the trillions of dollars. We buy more furniture. We buy more hit products. We spend more on furniture and things than we do on education and real estate. Don't even get me started there. But our buying power is that. It's power. And so we need to start holding these brands accountable for their pacification of us in that time. The next thing I think is, as far as the brands are concerned, again, like Makiko said, there's a culture. Every organization has a spirit. I truly believe in that. And as you start to work with them, you'll peel back those onions. And through working with folks like us, who are communications professionals and who can speak for not just our culture, but other cultures, we get them to get the messaging right first. But as we continue to work with them, we start to be able to change the dynamic internally and within. And when you correlate that to the dollars, they're going to say, okay, well, you know what? Maybe Jim has been here too long. Let's move Jim off the board and let's get Tyrone on the board. Those are the things that shift that has to be. That messaging has to be, again, internally for us as Black folks to hold them to the task. You said you were going to do this. We talked about that a while ago, and somebody said, well, let's see what happens in 3 years, what happens in 4 years. Because right now, in this last 6 months, you gung-ho. The other thing, and I know I do it, and I'm sure you ladies do too, is I watch who my vendors are. I run an agency, so I have payroll and so forth and so on. And when everything started happening, I checked who's tweeting, who put out a statement, what vendors of mine showed up. Like, I need them to show up as a Black business owner who showed up. And those that showed up, I put it out there. Shout out to this. Shout out to this one. And those that didn't, I found a switch. Oh, let me find a question for you. Because you want my dollars, you care about the green in my pocket, but you don't care about the Black on my skin. That doesn't work. So you have to hold them accountable, and we have to start doing things that make them change the culture. I might not be able to change how you feel about me, but I can definitely change the level of respect that you give to me and to my community. And that's where we have to start.
Right. I love that. I love that. Kima, what do you think?
I definitely agree with everything that Tiffany said. One thing I have to say is you have to be not so quick to cancel everybody, because all of a sudden this cancel culture run rampant. So we do definitely need to, number one, do our research to find out, what's really going on. Because right now everybody is in a act first and then think about it type thing. And I think that's trickling down to everybody. We need to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that we're looking at the history of some of these companies to see if it's right now in this moment, but what has happened before this. The other thing that we've all talked about is our buying power, our spending power.
Right.
There's so much in the Black community that is untapped because people are loyal to brands. Um,
Right.
our people are loyal to, don't want to be negative, clout. Who has the best this, who's wearing, the labels, different things like that. And unfortunately for us, our Black designers are not always seen, first and foremost. So while we're canceling, some of these other cultures, let's bring some of our people to the front so then they can see, oh, they don't need us. They have their own.
Mm-hmm.
What can we do to make sure that we're not losing out, on everything? I think that's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Cancel our people, but don't them. We need to cancel them and bring our people to the forefront so they can see that as a community that we're promoting each other, that we're promoting unity, we're promoting our brands, we're buying into our culture consistently and not just now because of everything that's going on. That's the other thing. We have to
Right.
be consistent. We have to hold on to these things. It's not just in this moment and, forever going forward. 2020 has been
Right.
a year that nobody could ever imagine. I think that
Not at
what will
all.
happen going forward is how we continue out going through next year. Because let's face it, a guy just got killed earlier this week or last week by police
Yeah.
officers. That stuff is not going to stop. Unfortunately, not.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to continue to protest. We have to continue to hold people accountable. We have to address our concerns, but we also have to make sure that we're consistent. Don't just do it right now because it happened, but keep doing it. Keep voicing your concerns. Keep
Keep
posting.
going.
Keep writing your concerns. Keep voting for God's sake. Even after everything that's
Right.
right now, we have to be the ones to keep going, even once the dust has settled and everything seems to have, leveled out.
Right. Right. You made some really good points, ladies. Y'all want to expound on that?
They made great.
So, very good point. So, Kima, you bring up a point, and I'm finna pivot to you, Caitlin. How do we find our people? If we are to use our people, where are they? Because I agree with you. When we had the blackout, them brands felt it that day. That day, these companies felt it. But we didn't continue it. I think part of it is like someone said, oh, I don't want to use Black brands. Black companies are bad. They this, they that. But Caitlin, where do we find our people? How do we start a movement of, and not even a movement, a way of life of where we're buying just our products?
Put me on the spot with that question. Well, I mean, personally, for me, I'm on a lot of social media. I know a lot of people might not be, but I'm on a lot of social media, so it's not hard for me to find, Black-owned lingerie business or Black-owned designers, stuff like that. It's not hard for me to come across stuff like that just because I guess by being like your authentic self on your social media, like this is what I am, this is who I am, this is what I'm about. The people just kind of come to you, or you'll just kind of come across them. Like on my Twitter, I'll post my regular Black Lives Matter, things like that. And the brands just kind of find their way to me. Like, I don't think it's that difficult. I mean, it's just like with any other brand, like trial and error. Just because it's a smaller business, you just see what works for you and what doesn't. I mean.
Right. Makiko, how do we find us?
I think our peer networks, and I'm big at networking and knowing who you know. And it's not always the influencers. It's just, your basic neighbors. Like I said, these are the number one consumers of beauty brands, of clothing. And as Tiffany said, unfortunately, we're not, investing in real estate and other wealth building, generating assets, unfortunately. So you go to any other industry, and there we are. We're there. Our dollars, our disposable income, we're able to buy what we want to buy. That's a whole other lesson, and I have someone who can speak on that. But let me say, you know, we are our product. We are our own audience, if you will.
Right.
One thing is, as much as I believe, like all of us have crafted or created our own lane, and I'm a Black businesswoman, I'm not going to close and put myself in a box. I will, partner with Black businesses. I will always shop Black businesses, but I'm not going to be exclusive.
Right.
Why? Because I'm not going to limit my bag. I'm not going to limit, and not only that, who I can serve, because I know people who don't look like me need me. Especially people who don't look like me need me more than they need Susie and John. And there's a lot behind that. And once I can open up and peel back the layers and establish trust with them, they get it, right?
Right.
So our people are everywhere. Our topic was racism in media, and to me, that's controlling the messaging. I can control the message, but I can still deal with corporate America, majority white, because I have a service, and I have a service that you need, that no one else can tell a story like I can tell a story, right?
Right.
Experiences, who I am, my culture, all of that. And you can't put a price on that. It's so invaluable that they're, like I said, we're not going away. They need us. And so I'm not going to put myself in a box. I'm open to everyone. I'm open to working with everyone. You know why? Because the more I work with everyone, they get to see, oh, they're multidimensional. I can engage with them. I don't have to be afraid of the name of Shakima or you know what I'm saying?
Right.
We are approachable, we're multidimensional, we're intellectual, we're able, and that's my message. So my audience is everywhere.
Right. And we're highly adaptable too. Absolutely. I mean, we can adapt, to pretty much anything. And I think that's what makes us unique, which is why, we are the person that they need to have on their team, because we know how to adapt. As our counterparts can't always adapt to, like you said, media is controlling the messaging. They can't always adapt to what comes before them. Whereas I think we've learned that's been ingrained in us. We kind of grew up with that. Whether you've experienced racism, firsthand or not, you know how to adapt in certain situations. And so I really think that says a lot, about us as people.
Yes.
It says a whole lot about us, as people. I really love the fact that we can be seen now. I really like the fact that we do have something to say. So ladies, I want to ask you, and Fancy, I'll start with you. As an expert in your field, like you do PR, but you have your own brand, your own lane. What is your advice, for businesses and brands as it relates to racism? Like, what should they be saying or should not be saying?
Okay. So I actually thought about this one quite a bit, because I was kind of indefinite, because y'all got to remember, again, I'm not gonna lie, and this is me, it's my authentic self. I'm very I'm very pro-Black. So for me right now, like what I've been looking at is like right now it's like a really a good time for us to be really embracing our Blackness, like with our brand messaging, like, because I think that a lot of people are saying like, hey, we don't have to have everything, basically whitewashed in order for it to be professional or for it to be acceptable. Like now it's kind of a time to be able to kind of take a risk to be more creative and more of yourself, which is something that of course is really like big to me. But as for other business owners, I say put your advertising dollars in Black media. Like in Black media outlets, like you're creating all these initiatives and all of those other things. But we're talking about messaging. That messaging is needed. That advertising and marketing is needed. All of that communication is needed. But no one is saying, hey, you know what? We're gonna put advertising dollars towards this, so we're going to create some grants for this media outlet, because media does have power. So I've noticed that I hadn't saw anything like that other than kind of like with Facebook, but and they have their grants, but overall I think that that's one area that's kind of being overlooked, that's coming from me as a publisher. And when I'm really looking at the situation, like, how would these times be beneficial for me? Because we're not, especially as a small media outlet, like, even if there was something along the lines of grants or something, then that would allow us to be able to have more equipment and software and things that allow us to really enter the playing field with our counterparts, even if we're not interested in it. At least, kind of just if we're really concerned. And because the whole thing is we were already behind anyway, not just within the media industry, but within other industries as well. So that's what I would tell both, the first part to the Black businesses and then to everyone else. But I just think it's kind of a really shift taking place right now. So I'm just interested in how it's going to go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to how the messaging will continue. Tiffany, what do you think, brands and businesses should be saying? Like we just said, Jake Blake was killed on Sunday night by cops getting into his car. They unleashed bullets on him in front of his family. What should brands and businesses be saying?
They should be taking a stand for rights of the Black community to not be murdered. That's absolutely, at least, as a Black woman, that's how I feel. As a communications professional, the brand has to be authentic, right? And so you got to kind of be careful. We looked at a couple of veterans organizations, my team and I, to see how they responded. And there were some that were straight up, we think, we stand for Black Lives Matter, we support blah, blah, blah. Then you saw a few that kind of straddled the fence where it was, we believe all lives are precious and, that spiel.
Right.
And then there were some that were silent and didn't say anything. And so that just shows you where their thinking is. We don't matter to them, right? But I think any brand who understands that our dollars matter, that we matter, that we as a consumer matter, they need to be making a public statement about the fact that there is injustice and inequality. And you can do that without offending the rest of your consumer base. And that's why they need us. That's exactly why they need us, because we have a perspective. We, because of what we've been through as a people, have the innate ability to look at things from all different perspectives and to see all different sides of the coin, both sides of the coin. But they need to understand that they can do that without offending the rest of their consumer base. You can stand up for the rights and the lives of your Black consumers. What they don't need to be saying is, we know how you feel, because no, you don't. They don't need to say, let's not do a comparison. Let's not compare what's happening in the Black community to what's happened in any other community or with any other group of persons. We get it. But this is, and I've said this to some of my clients, don't do it. This is about us. This is about Black lives. So don't say people of color. That's not where we are.
Right.
Don't sugarcoat it. Don't group it in. If you're going to make the statement, make the statement. Be genuine and make the statement. But this is not a time for comparison. This is not a time to gloss over it, and act like it's not happening. And I truly believe that's why all of this is bubbling up while everybody's home sitting still, because it's smacking folks in the face. And you're either on one side of the fence or the other. Those that have been comfortably straddling, that say, oh, I have a Black friend. I have a Black friend. Well, let's see how much the person is your friend, right? So those companies that have been saying, oh, well, we care about our Black consumers. Really? Well, let's see. Now it's time where the rubber meets the road. You know, you're gonna talk the talk. Let's walk the walk. You can. It's in your face. It is smacking you dead in the face. There is absolutely no way that you could not feel nothing or something. That middle of the road is gone. So they definitely need to be making a statement. They need to be reaching out to a publicist that looks like us, a professional that looks like us to make that statement, because a person of another hue cannot craft a statement that is going to speak to our community, that is going to help to just a smidget ease any pain or even just a smidget, because it's going to take, what statistics say, it takes 12 pieces of positive information to counteract the impacts of one piece of negative information, right? So we keep seeing our men murdered and our families killed, you know. So that one little statement you make isn't even a drop in the bucket. But you still need to make it, and it needs to be crafted by somebody that actually understands the culture, the community, and what's going on. So no, somebody of another hue, another person of color even, cannot craft that messaging in such a way that it's going to be as impactful as it needs to be. But we can do that without offending the rest of your consumer base. So that's what I say.
Right. Makika?
I agree with Tiffany. There's a way to craft a message that's not offensive. And again, I think it's an educational piece as well. And it's how we show up as well. Because if when I show up as Makiko and they expect someone else, but I perform like whoever they expected, they get to see, and there's more understanding. Again, crafting that message, controlling the message, because again, we're not going away. And because I've seen darkness and I know how to walk out of darkness, I can help you. If you've never been in darkness and you don't know what that looks like, and you're surrounded in a world of privilege and that's all you don't know how to walk out of this. But I can help you, right? I can help you walk you through this. And that's what all of us here are here to do. Help them, help corporate brands to walk through it, make sure their messaging is authentic and not just performative, but that it sticks and that it's an educational piece for their employees. Because again, when I talk about culture, this slaps you right in the face of your corporate culture. Who are you? Who are you? Every day you show up, whether you're a nonprofit and you're asking for dollars, how can you ask for dollars when you can't understand your constituent base? So who I am, right? I mean, that goes to basic, to me, strategy and your SWOT analysis. Who is your base? Who's your constituents? So understanding that, and like Tiffany said, people who look like us, we can tell that story, right? Because we've been there, we've done it, we've had to pivot, we've had to be flexible. As we talked about, being flexible, it's in our DNA. So who better do you want to walk you through this storm, right? Because that's what it is. We're in a global pandemic, we're in an economic crisis. Who do you want to walk you through this storm than someone who's been through a storm before and has been brought up in a household that teaches you how to walk through a storm, right?
Exactly.
How to every day and be excellent in every way, because that's the only way we were told that we can survive.
Right. That reminds me of that movie Meet the Browns, where Angela Bassett said, one thing a Black woman know how to do is make it. This is definitely a time where, like y'all said, they need people that look like us to, give that message out to them. So Caitlin and Kim, I'm going to ask you a different question. For those who have said nothing, or those who, like Tiffany said, they've been middle of the road. I'll use my company for an example. One of my former companies, they took the middle of the road approach. They got on and they gave us this message about unity and how we all have to stick together, and that during this time, it should be about love. I say they ate him up on the message board. They ate him up. Like, excuse me? You couldn't even say Black American. You couldn't even mention the people who, number one, not only work for you, but the people who you supposedly serve, whose communities that you are in. You couldn't even say Black Americans.
But a Black communications person would have told him that. Somebody would have tapped him on the shoulder and said, hey, that's not going to fly.
Yeah, you need to come again.
Yeah, and a lot of times they're afraid. They're so afraid to walk that tightrope. Do I say
Mm-hmm.
black? If I say black,
Mm-hmm.
am I being offensive? So
Right.
that's why they need us, right? We're here
Yeah.
to tell you, yeah, it's okay to say and address black people as black people, and
Right.
all those other, nuances that come with that. That's why
Right.
they need us.
Right. That's true. So Caitlin and Kima, which I don't know which one y'all want to go first. What happens with the brands that said nothing? Because like Tiffany said, it's some of them that it was crickets. Like we ain't hear nothing.
And for those brands speaking, when you think about the brands who said nothing this time, they didn't say anything the last time before. So for them, I kind of take them at face value. Those brands feel like their customer base is going to be loyal. They're not going to feel any backlash. And people are still going to, do what they want to do, shop what they want to shop. They're going to feel how they want to feel, whatever. And honestly, I would rather you say nothing than to come out with a statement that's not genuine that I can see right through as if I'm looking at, because people, like Tiffany said, your audience knows when you're genuine and when you're not. Going
They
back
know when
to
you're being true.
the Starbucks thing, we all thought that it was good. They took that to, have diversity training and, make changes or whatever. And then now we see a year later, that earlier, right out the door. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
if they don't say anything, are they making any change in the background? And if they're not, then we have to expect that whatever we get from them is what we're going to get from them. And as a consumer, we have to decide whether or not we're going to continue to support that business. Same thing for the companies who came out with all these statements that we all were like, okay, really, where did this come from? They said some people are going to support them or continue to not support them and shop from them the way we did before they made the statement.
Right.
Silence to me is an answer. You not saying something is your answer. I would rather you not say anything than to come out with that statement that was just like, okay, you could have kept that. You're giving all these millions of dollars to the cause, but what were you doing last year? What were you doing the year before that? What were you doing when Trayvon Martin got shot coming back from the store? What were you doing then? There have been so many different instances leading up to George Floyd, which, unfortunately for us or his family, that was the catalyst that sparked, everything. So they really don't get, closure or whatever. But sometimes, things happen. But we had too many instances before we got to this point. And if you didn't say anything before then, you're not saying anything now. So what you're telling me is that it is what it is. And I can say for
Right.
me, it is what it is. And I'll take my money, my time, and my effort, elsewhere.
Someone else.
I'll go somewhere else. Caitlin, I don't blame you.
Yeah, I think she summed that up perfectly. Like, I'd rather you say nothing and I know where you stand than you make a statement, put on a show, and make it feel like, oh, they actually care, when in actuality you don't.
Mm-hmm.
If you really care, I think Fancy kind of touched on this earlier, you're going to put your money where your mouth is, because a lot of these brands that are making these statements, if they really want to make a change, they have the money to make the change, and they have the power to help make the change. So sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I really would rather them just stay silent, because some people treat it like it's a controversial thing to say Black people matter. Some brands are so scared to say that. Just saying, hey, treat Black people like just people, like be a decent human being. They're acting like that is a controversial statement, and so I guess I really would rather them just stay silent than say something ignorant, like I don't know, bring up black on black crime or something like that, and that would just
I'd be ready to fight. Yeah.
Oh, ready to swing.
Yeah.
I'd rather them just say nothing at all and know where they stand.
Right. I agree 1,000%. Fancy, you brought up a good point, and this will be our last question, because you ladies are like on fire. Y'all gave a lot of good information and tips. I love how you said, Fancy, like, I don't care. Like, I absolutely do not care what the rest of them are saying or doing. And I think when this initially happened, we were looking for white counterparts and other races to say something to be on our side. April Franks, which is like amazing coach, did this live and she was going off. I will forever reference that. She said, "Why do y'all care about what they say? Their products and services are not even for you in the first place. There's a black sister that created that same product, that's for you." So I want to ask, how can we, or to what extent should we adapt that attitude of, I don't care, let me create my own stuff, my own people?
Ooh, well, especially with the climate that we're in right now, I kind of think, I mean, if you were to do it on a scale of 100 or something, that I would at least think we need to be about at 70%. Like the whole thing is like us constantly building our own, even in the midst of this. Like if you delivered a message or whatever the case may be, if you made a statement, it's cool, if you actually meant it. Because of course, like I said, I was looking, but at the same time, I really didn't care because I do just feel like it's just a statement. Until I really see some real action from people, it does not matter to me, basically. But I say that to say, of course, we still want to live in peace, So I'm like, even while, okay, accept the statement or don't accept the statement, but still just be trying to be more self-sufficient. I just wish that we were just, why does it have to always be like, it has to be someone else? I know that there are Black people, and I just want to say this right quick, because even when we asked about like the media, I see, especially working in media, how, now we're seeing the first Black person is the first Black person that a lot of the times there was long ago a Black person that was doing that. They just now got media attention. You know what I mean? But there are so many, we're doing so many amazing things. So I don't think we should just still be trying to limit ourselves. I'm not one of those people that believe in the whole, we're just trying to be taken care of. But hey, let's just be continuing to be building to build our own things and
right.
Yeah.
Right. Makiko?
Like I said, I'm here as a Black woman to support Black businesses, but I'm not going to limit myself to serving only Black businesses, because part of me serving others is helping them better understand who we are as a culture and what our services and what our excellences are. I'm just as qualified as the next. My name may be Makiko, something you can't pronounce, something you've never seen, you don't understand. But by me doing business with you and earning your trust, you're going to better understand that there are so many cultures that can help you create a message that you need to get your product to market, increase your revenue, help your corporate culture, your teamwork, and your dynamics, and the performance of your employees on the job, because they better understand each other.
Right.
Like I said, we're not going away. And I think it's time, since many of us have pivoted and created our own lanes, they're starting to recognize that. And they're starting to see that there's value in working with diverse agencies, diverse public relations, communications professionals. And if you need us, I can help you walk through this storm, because I've been through many storms in my life as a woman. And corporately, I can help you get through this storm to the other side.
Right. Tiffany?
Yeah, I agree with Makiko. I'm not going anywhere, and I'm not going to limit myself. So I work with primarily nonprofits and community-based organizations as well, but some of the largest nonprofits out there serve our people. So when I'm going into those offices, into those brands, and pitching myself to them, and I'm helping them to help the community that they serve, which most of the time people that look like me. So again, we're not going anywhere. We're here. We just need to just hold fast to supporting one another. Groups like this, conversations like this, platforms, giving each other platforms. There's room for all of us. There's a niche for all of us. We have to do collaboration over competition. That's something that we always say in our group, collaboration over competition. That's very, very important. And if we keep working together, sky's the limit. But no, I don't think we should pigeonhole ourselves into well, I only do Black brands, or I only do this, or I only do that. I think that we should go where the check is without us losing our integrity, right? And that's how we make a difference. There's a reason why, out of all of the people in our communities, why we are doing what we're doing, right? If this is truly what we should be doing in the lane that we should be in, then we make a difference in any room that we walk into, regardless of who else is sitting in the room, whether they look like us or not. So while I do my best to support Black-owned businesses, I'm a Black-owned businesswoman, so but I'm definitely not going to just solely focus on working with Black businesses as well. But I will help you. As I go up, you guys go up too. So either way, wherever I'm getting those checks from is helping my community.
Right. It's a win-win. Caitlin?
Oh, I mean, everybody pretty much summed it up. I feel like I don't have anything to add on to that.
What about you, Kima?
I definitely agree with Makiko and Tiffany. As Black business owners, we definitely want to support others, but we have to make ourselves available to everybody. And a part of that, with creating your messaging and your branding, there does need to be some diversity on our part as well, to know that you are capable of delivering to them and their audience. So that may mean, changing up some images. That may mean changing up the context of what you're putting out there. But I definitely think that we do support, our community so that we all can continue to grow. And then as you grow, somebody goes up with you. And then, if you don't know how to diversify your message, then you have Makiko, you have Tiffany, you have myself, you have different people who are committed to, being available to not just us, but everybody who can help you, with those different things. So we definitely have to stay, like the saying goes, buy Black, but sell to everybody. We're going to support our community and we're going to help other people as well. Before they need the messaging. And I think that if we all have a thought process, things won't, go as far as they have. And with the brands, I definitely feel like paying attention to your audience needs. Those are all things that will definitely close that gap into where we are right now.
Right. I love this, ladies. Y'all are awesome with y'all messaging. Like, this is the stuff. This is why y'all have to show up in the room. This is why we need us in the room so that people will know, like y'all say, we're not going anywhere. We're here. Fancy, definitely a shout out to you for creating a platform for women like me and the ladies here. You have supported my brand for years. I mean, my stuff all over the place because of her brand, because of what she's created for us. And I can't thank you enough for having a platform before all this even happened, just for Black people to be able to showcase what they do. I love all of y'all for that. Thank y'all, ladies, for definitely making sure that we show up in the room, but also to show other people that, you don't have to hire Susie. You can hire me. Yeah, my name may be a Black name, as they say, but we bring so much to the table that it would be really against them to not have us at the table, to not have us in the room, to be able to talk. Because now people are listening, people are paying attention. Toya, she was having issues, but she was a very integral part of, the George Floyd funeral and all of that going on here in Houston. She was the key person in that. Very proud of her for that. And I loved, and I will always quote this too, what Reverend Al Sharpton said, what happened to George Floyd wasn't the first time. But we were sitting our behinds at home. We were sitting still. We saw a murder on live camera. That wasn't the first time that happened. But now, because we're sitting still, we can see it. All the other times, it was just a flash. You just saw the video after the fact. But we were sitting here. We were sitting still, not going about our days because of this global pandemic we're in. We're having to face that this is not just a great place to live now for us. And we have to carve out our own way. We have to make our own ways into certain rooms that we weren't in, before. So I thank you ladies for helping craft that message, helping to get it out to the audience, that we matter. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be here. And, for those counterparts that may need help with their messaging, you have professionals here that will do that. So, Caitlin, I'll start with you. Just tell us how people can get connected to you. If they want to work with you, give us your social media and how they can get in touch with you.
Facebook and Instagram are both Black Mamba Creative. LinkedIn is Caitlin Darby, and my website is blackmambacreative.com.
All right, Miss Makiko.
Yes, folks can find me on Facebook under Makiko Gabrielle, and PR Alchemy is my business page, and my website is soon in development, and I'll be sharing that as well.
Cool. Miss Tiffany?
I am Ms. Tiffany Joy, publicist on Facebook and on Instagram. And the company page is TJM & Co. Media Boutique. So at TJM & Co. on Instagram and at Facebook.
Thank you. Miss Kima?
Hi, so all my social media is ready. Like PR, using my name, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Facebook, website. You can find me there. I also have a webinar coming up this weekend. Hope you with your branding messages. So the link is in my Instagram bio.
Yes. Y'all definitely need to make sure y'all attend. I'm signing up, so I'm gonna be there too. And Miss Fancy.
Thank you.
All of my handles are Swagger Magazine, Facebook, Instagram, and then for my own personal brands, it's Fancy Swagger across all the channels. So that's basically it. Oh, but let me just do one thing. You also can find us on Spotify for Theories and Thoughts, our podcast. So let y'all know.
Yes, man. Okay, I'm gonna have to go look that up so I can add that to my list of playlists of podcasts that I listen to. But thank you, ladies, again so much for joining me on tonight. I definitely know y'all dropped some really good nuggets. I hope the audience enjoyed it. And I hope Brands was listening too. They can take a few notes, although they need to call one of y'all or several of y'all to help get their message out. I definitely appreciate y'all. Next week, we will have Fathers of Sons. When your child is a target will be our next panel discussion. I have 3 fathers coming on to talk about what it's like to parent a child that is a target every time that they walk out of the door. How that message has to be communicated to that child, how you have to protect and pray for that child when they leave your presence, and some tips on how we can help our Black boys, our brown boys, be safe in an environment like this. So thanks again for joining us. You all have a good night.
Thanks, you too.